If you are designing emails in the basic Klaviyo editor and you're kind of wondering why your email creatives look so amateurish compared to all of your competitors, I'm about to show you the exact Figma to Klaviyo system and workflow that email marketing teams like us use to make super professional, high converting campaigns for our clients. But first, let's jump into the Klaviyo editor so I can show you exactly like where people usually mess up when they're just designing emails there. All right, so this is the basic Klaviyo editor, and this is where a lot of brand owners will kind of just like go in and make emails. And it's never really made sense to me because there's not a lot you can do here, and you're bound to end up with a very basic creative. For example, you can click image, drag an image block in here, and then drop something in there, which is what we're gonna be doing later after we actually create them in Figma. But outside of that, you're dragging text blocks in, like you're editing text natively, which is fine if you're doing like a plain text style email. You have like very generic looking drop shadows here, or like maybe you're doing something like, the buttons, for example, which all look the same. And most of the time when I see a Klaviyo edited email, it'll just have the basic button and then they'll change this maybe, and that's it. And it just looks very generic. If you want these things to convert and you want your business to look like an authority, you can't just edit them in a very basic way like this. When we move our email creatives over to Figma, you can design very professional looking emails. You can use different components to have a consistent source of branding throughout. And it's also very easy to use. It looks complex to a lot of people when they first see it, but it's pretty simple. So now let's get into it. I'm gonna show you the complete workflow from the very start when you're creating the email in Figma all the way to the final template in Klaviyo. All right, so first we need to set up the Figma email template. What you wanna do here, especially when you're making an email creative, is click this little frame button right here. It's that little kind of like cross there. And then you're gonna drag out your frame. It doesn't matter the size. We're gonna fix that next. Now over on your right side of your screen here, you're gonna go to dimensions. You're gonna make the width 600. You always want to stick with 600 width for emails. Sometimes you can just double that and do 1200. We stick with 600. Now, as for the height, that's just going to change based on how long you need your email to be. Now, the next thing you want to do is to make sure that you have the correct fonts in your system. So if you have a Mac, you're going to see something like this. It's called like a font book. This is what I have because I'm using a Mac. And so you have all these different fonts that are available to you and that are downloaded into your computer. If you're not on Mac, it's probably a little bit different. I'm sure it's very similar though. Now, what you want to do is you want to go to your website. Let me show you an example. So if I was doing this for Dr. Squatch, I would want to know what these fonts are before I start actually designing the emails. One thing you can do is you can highlight a font on a website, go to inspect, and then in this dashboard here, you want to go under styles and look for font family. So that one says Adriana. So that way when I'm using a text block, I would click this little T down here, drag out my text block, type stuff in. I'm going to increase the font size right here just for visibility. And then I went on the search here on the fonts for Adriana. I don't have it, so let me show you how you would get that. So here I just went on Google and I searched Adriana font free download. This is literally all we do. And I would go down to one of these sites. I'll just choose this one. And yes, some of these are pretty sketchy. Please do your due diligence when you're doing this, but I would just click download here and now it's going to download the font. Sometimes you run into stuff like this. I'm just going to use a different one. All right, so here I am. Here's Adriana font, download font. Now it's downloaded, so I'm gonna drag that in here to my font book. All right, and then right there you can see it popped up. So now back in Figma, I'm gonna right click up here and reload the tab. And now what I can do is click on this text, go down to typography, and then click on this font here, type in Adriana, and boom, there it is. Now I have that font and I can do this for any font that I need to use here in Figma. Now the next thing that's very helpful here is you wanna create reusable components. These are things that you can create once and then use it, repetitively for all the different emails that you create here in Figma. As an example, one of those might be a headline. So we might put headline here and then make that a specific font, and then we save that as a component. So essentially what you would do here is you would choose something like this. You would right click on it and then go down to create component, click on create component. Now you can see it's purple. Now if we go over to this left-hand tab here and you go to assets rather than file, you'll see different components created in this file. Now we have this component that's reusable. We can just drag it into any design whenever we want. To give you another example of a component you might use, you might grab the shape here, create a button. All right, we might make the corner radius like a 50 here so that this is a pill. Change the color. Maybe we want this to be like a blue button, just like that. Maybe we want to add like a drop shadow here. We'll give it like a 10x axis, 10y axis, like tons of blur, just like that. There's our button. Then maybe we'll even add a text block over this and say like click here. And then I'm gonna reduce the size of that font, make it a 40, and then center it. Okay, and then what I believe you can do here is just highlight that, double click on it, or right click on it, create component. And now you can see over in this left-hand tab here, we have that component that we can use. And so this is gonna save you a ton of time when you're creating designs, because as you can see, now we already have a way better creative that we can just drag stuff in. And then as you're creating things in the future, you can do it with basically the same amount of effort that you would spend in the Klaviyo editor, but it's gonna look 10 times better, and it's still gonna be optimized for deliverability because of what I'm gonna show you at the end. All right, so next up, let's turn this into an actual design that converts. All right, so I just dragged in a fresh creative that we just made for one of our clients here. And I wanna keep this video pretty easy for you to act on, so I'm just gonna show you the different elements of this and show you how to edit them and how to create them. So let's take our frame here and let's start fresh. First off, you need a logo. So the logo is obviously, as you can see, this is a component that we used, but the logo is always going to be just an image file. So when it comes to images, you'll usually just drag them in and drop them on the Figma creative board here and they'll just appear. You can also click on this little tool down in the toolbar here, click the down arrow and then image video, and then drag it in from there. Another helpful tip here is, so like if this is your image file, let me drag that into this frame. Once you have the image, you've selected it, you can go down to fill here and click on the actual image box itself. And then what you can do is you can either click upload from computer to switch out a new image, or you can drag an image directly to here from your downloads and it'll just replace it. You can also change the setting of what you're filling. So this box right here is filling it with an image. You can see that that's selected right here. You can also switch that out to fill with a video. Now for an email creative, you're pretty much never gonna select video. You can also select pattern. We don't really use this one too often. You can click here to select gradient. So for example, you might have this top gradient like a red color, and then this bottom gradient more like a blue color. So like these are some of the things that you can work into your designs. You can also create, change the opacity of that color. So like if this was the background that you wanted to use, you could always use that. And of course, lastly, you can select this other option here to make it a solid color. And then you can just edit that color as you want. Now the other aspect here is this headline. So I'm gonna copy this over to show you what you're doing here. Now pretty simple here. All you're gonna do is just like edit text like that. So it's pretty straightforward. You're just gonna edit the text in that text box. If you wanna create the text from scratch, you'll click the little T down here and you'll drag that in and just type from there. To change the color of the text, you'll want to select the text, go down here to fill. Now this one is a little bit unique in that you can see there's two different colors here. If you look down at the bottom right here and see selection colors, I can remove one of these if I want. So if I wanted this all to just be orange, I would just go to black here and delete it and then copy in the orange color code. And now it's all orange. Keep in mind, all colors are based on a color code. I believe it's called a hex code. So if I select this text and I go down to fill and I want to change this to green, I might drag this to green. I can change the shade of the green. And you can see the color code down there on that little hex right there at the bottom right is changing based on the color. See that? And that's how you kind of like mess around with the color of the text. You can also use rotation here to change the angle of text if you want to tilt it like that, for example. You can change the opacity if you want the text to be more clear or like see-through, kind of like that. As we talked about, you can change the font here. You can change how bold it is here. Usually this will just say like light, bold, normal, but for this font specifically, there's a bunch of different options here. You can change the font size by clicking right here. And then of course, when it comes to like the line height and the letter spacing, you can tweak those right here. And then for the alignment of the text, you can either click left align, right align, or center align. All pretty straightforward. Another few options I want to show you here. The stroke is the outline of the text. You can click stroke, click the little plus button here, and then as you can see, it just outlined that in black. If I wanted it to have a red outline, for example, I would go to red, I would make this red. Let's say I want the text to be white with a black outline. I would change this to black, and then I would go to fill, and I would make that white. Then let's say I wanted the outline to be thicker. I would go out here and I would change the weight. So maybe the weight I want to be 10. Now it's super thick outline. Let's say I change that to 5 and then I want the position of it to be inside rather than outside. You can see that almost fills the text there. Or you can center it and it obviously looks kind of messed up there. Like for example, if I went to outside, inside, you can see it changes the way it does it. And then like I said, when it comes to a button, you're typically gonna select the little rectangle option at the bottom here. You're gonna make a rectangle. You can change the roundness of it by changing the corner radius here. And then you'll typically just drag a text block in here as well. So you'll drag your text blocks here, type in it, boom. Now I'm gonna center that. I'm gonna make the text block centered, drag it in there. Maybe I'll increase the size to like 50. Now it's way bigger, center it. Figma is very helpful because it gives you these little lines to show you when things are centered. So that's very helpful. And then you can even select multiple things by clicking on one part, holding the shift key down on your keyboard, and then clicking another piece. And then you can drag this around by doing something like that. And boom, now it's all centered together. Then as I mentioned, if that's the button that you wanted to save, you can highlight all of this, double click or right click on it, and then go down to create component, and boom, now it's created a component. I can go to assets and I can drag that in as many times as I want. Now, another thing I want to show is that there are a lot of different like little creatives and infographics that you can create here. They might look complex, but it's actually really simple to create these. For example, this background here is literally just a circle with an image in it. So to select multiple things at once, you're going to click one aspect of it and then hold the shift key and then select the other one. Now these are both selected. I'm going to click Command C or Control C depending on what type of laptop you're using, your computer. And I'm going to go back up here, Control V, and paste it. Then I'm going to highlight these so I have both selected. I'm going to put it just there like that. And then when it comes to actually creating these, this is literally as simple as going down here, clicking the little shape icon, the drop down, going to ellipse, dragging that out. You can change the height and the width of it by going here. So I can make that 200, I can make this 400, I can make them the same and go like 500, 500, just like that. And then same as text, you have a fill color and you have a stroke. So like maybe I want to fill this with like this deep or like a light blue. And then I want the stroke to be like a thick black line like this, like 10, boom, I can create the circle like that. And then these little pieces here are literally just a rectangle with a stroke and then text inside of it. So just to show you how you would do that, you click the drop down, you go rectangle, drag this out. I might center it here. Maybe I'll give it a little bit of a corner rounding, so I'll do like a 15 there. Maybe I want the fill color to be like a pink or something. I don't know, whatever your branding is. Maybe I'll give it like a 2 weight little black stroke here. So like 3. Now I have that little rectangle. Now I can go to text, drag out this text block, and then type in like text here, whatever it is. I like to tap this little button here that makes it like an auto height based on how much text is there. That way it's easier to center. Then you can center that within that block, just like that. Then you can drag this on top of this stuff however you want. And as you can see, we took this email creative and we broke it down to little different aspects of it, and it's pretty simple to create. Obviously, I'm not saying that this is a final creative here. I'm just showing you how you would create different aspects of it. All right, next comes the extremely important aspect, which is turning that finished email creative and moving it to Klaviyo. So what you want to do here is you want to go down here, click this drop down, sorry, wrong one, click this drop down and select slice. You'll know you have it selected when you see at this little, again, at the very bottom, this little toolbar, you'll see a little blue lit up box here with the little like knife almost. And now what you want to do is slice out the email. So I'm going to select this top corner. I'm going to drag it down here. You want this to fill up the whole width. So to verify this, you can kind of like resize this and it'll kind of like attach it, as you can see there, to the top corner. Then as you have this selected, you want to go over here and make sure that the width is 600 because that means it's holding the whole width of that email. For the height of these slices, you don't really want them to ever be more than like 500 pixels. This one is 283 pixels, so we know we're good. Now, essentially what you want to do is create a slice like this for each section of the email. I like to do is just Control C, Control V. Now I've copied it. Now I can drag this one down and then select this part of it. You can see that height is 565, just under where we want it to be. And now if you go to File here, you can see I have a slice here and a slice here. So slice 11, slice 12. Ignore all of these slices. These were the ones that were originally there on this creative. I'll just delete those ones. So slice 11 is that top one. As you can see, it's kind of like outlined there. And then slice 12 is this one down here. For context, since I didn't explain this earlier, all of this stuff on the side here is just like each of the elements kind of like shown to you. And they're in order of how they're placed here. So something that's up at the top is going to look like it's on top of the stuff that's below it in this order. For example, up here, this is the frame. So if I go to frame 1, it'll jump to this. You can see that the text here, right there, is on top of this rectangle, which is why you see the text here on top of the rectangle. If I drag the rectangle above it, now the text is gone because you can't see it because it's behind the rectangle. So now I'll drag that back just so it's there. Then within this frame, we're just gonna keep creating these slices. So boom, there's one slice, boom, there's a second slice. I'll slice that button out by itself because we want each of these to be their own section. And now, as you can see, I've sliced out the whole email. So if I select all these slices, you can see it kind of selects this whole thing. But if I hover over each one individually, you'll see it kind of go down in order of the way they're sliced out. So now what you want to do is you want to click the bottom slice and then click the top slice while holding the shift key. Boom, so it selects all of them here. And then you're gonna go over to the right side of the screen and click on export, click that little plus button. And then you're gonna go to the little drop down here, select JPEG. Now you wanna select JPEG instead of PNG here because with black mode or dark mode, whatever it's called, on these email platforms, if you have a PNG, it's not gonna show it properly. It's gonna mess things up because it's gonna have dark mode on. A lot of users use dark mode. When you have a JPEG, it means it fills up the whole thing rather than having transparent backgrounds in your images. So you wanna select JPEG. I'll usually select 2x here. That way it's high image quality, and don't worry, we're gonna compress it in a minute. So now we have 2x JPEG selected, and then we're gonna select export 11 layers. It's gonna pull up your folder here. You just click save. And now it just saved it to my computer. The next step here is you're gonna wanna go to this website. We like to use this one called iloveimg.com. It's literally iloveimg.com. Click compress image. Now I'm gonna click select images. I'm gonna click on this folder. And then again, I'm gonna click here, hold the shift key, select all of them, open. Now all of my slices are here individually, and I'm gonna click compress. All right, so now just for context, you can see that the total file size of all of those images was 3.14 megabytes, and that's now been compressed without sacrificing image quality down to 643 kilobytes. Now, the reason this is so crucial is because if you go ahead and you upload all of these images into Klaviyo directly, your deliverability will be terrible because spam filters on Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, whatever it is, they're looking for promotional emails to put you in the promotion folder or the spam tab. So when you compress it, you're essentially shrinking the size of that file so that it looks a lot better to spam filters. On top of this, you're also going to want to include a footer at the bottom of each of your emails that have like 400 to 500 words of text. This is also extremely important for your deliverability. Watch one of my other videos on the channel for that. All right, so back to here, we're gonna select download the compressed images. It's gonna download those there. Then I'm gonna click on the zip so that it opens them up. All right, so now I'm back in Klaviyo. Let's actually build this out. So I'm in a free account here, so I can't really delete the Klaviyo branding, but I'm just gonna get rid of all this. I'm gonna leave this little footer here, but like I said, typically you wanna go and select a primary tab footer. We've got other videos on the channel that show you exactly how to build those out for maximum deliverability. So it says drop content here. Essentially what you wanna do is go to the image block, drop that in. And now in my compressed image folder, I'm gonna go to that first slice. I'm gonna drag that in right here and drop it. And boom, now you can see the slice right there. And just to verify, you can look at the size right here. You can see it's 43 kilobytes, very small image, that's great. Now you can either create a bunch of new blocks here and drag an image block in for each. I like to just duplicate this, click replace, then go to upload image, and then drag your new slice in right there. Click upload, and there it is. Then obviously you're just gonna keep going on and doing that for all of the slices in your email. Now you have a bunch of compressed images in the creator, and then like I said, go and watch the other video to show that where I show you how to build the primary tab footer, and then add that in as well, just so that you have maximum deliverability. The next step here is you're gonna wanna add alt text. Now, alt text is another way to kind of give you a little bit of a better score with your sender score and your sender reputation so that you land in the primary tab more often. What we'll do here is we'll essentially just copy the text that's here. So for this one, we would probably just do gratitude journals that evolve with you. Boom. Then like for this one, it's an image. So we might copy some of the text here, like say 126 days of new content. Or you could just like describe whatever's actually in the image there, but I would just do something like that. And then you wanna drop the link for each of these images. Do not leave any images in here that don't have a link attached to them. Because otherwise, when people open these in a desktop browser, it's just gonna show them like a download link, and you do not want them to see that. If someone clicks on any of these images in this email, you want them to go directly to the website. So once you've added the alt text for all of them and the links are done for all of them, you're essentially just gonna title it. So I might title this just like, I'm just gonna call it new template, but you'd probably have an actual title that you'd wanna add. You're gonna click exit, and then boom, there's your new template. So as a quick recap, we essentially covered here how to create the email in Figma, how to properly export that and move it over to Klaviyo, and then how to optimize it in Klaviyo for maximum deliverability and maximum conversions. As soon as you start doing this, I guarantee you, you're gonna see an increase in click rates, your deliverability is gonna be better, and overall, you're just gonna make more money from your email marketing. Now, I hope this is helpful. If you wanna take the next step and start implementing AI into your email creation to make this even easier when it comes to writing the emails and designing the emails, I have a full step-by-step AI prompting guide for you that I'll leave in the top link in the description. It's free to get. We use it directly in our agency. And when you pair it with the system that I just showed you, it's gonna make your email quality just so much better than whatever it is right now. So again, grab that free AI email prompting guide for both copy and design in the top link in the description. And if you wanna see my full guide on everything email and SMS marketing top to bottom, from strategy to copy to campaign calendars to flows and automations, deliverability, everything, I'm gonna leave a full video right here on the screen. Go ahead and click that, watch the next one. Until then, I'll see you there.